The Gulf at Aqaba, a prayer of St.G. It was evening, and the land and sea wrestled to a calming boundary. Beyond the point of land where earlier the sun had quenched its fire, St.G gazed unfixedly, with longing and with hope. Prayer stayed upon his lips and thoughts. A walk, he thought, a walk will stir my deadened spirit. There had been weeks of wandering expectation which leveled his eye and raised an instinct of joy and of dread. Were these the doldrum middle years of life, exacting no favor from above, and creating a certain happy boredom? Perhaps his, such as it was, usefulness was ended. When he walked upon a path, no interested eye moved toward him. Rooms of people kept a steady course when he entered, unrippled, unmotivated. Had they ever? It seemed so, but now he wasn't sure. Maybe a youthful arrogance had told him he was special and noticed, sought. Certainly now he was alone with that claimed fantasy. Certain the will to be was now encapsulated, isolated and personalized, no outer person directing. How obscurely he had lived, loved by some, but largely unrecognized. He was sure, yes, quite sure, that he could step out of the periphery of several hundreds of lives and there would never inquire. As a child, he had been told that if God stopped thinking about him for even an instant, he would cease to exist. And all throughout his boyhood, he had tried to imagine the reaction of people when they realized he simply was no longer there. Now he knew. An accepted loneliness, he called it. It had not risen unaware. There was a refined theory of his that he had even sown, pruned, watered, and reaped his lonely fashion. He presumed to say to himself that it suited him. Now years of indwelling had put a cement to his loosely bound loneliness. There was solitude itself, isolation, quietness, a low voice. He could respond to bright swashes of color, but kept it to himself. Music exalted him, simply lifted him to mountainous arenas. Yet ask, and no one could instruct you of that joy. It sang, unelogized. When he rode upon his horse, he dashed madly, thundering. Great heroes throbbed his vitals, and he gloried, galloping alleluias. To swim was to flow perfectly, necessarily under the water where there was no splash. Limbs were pushed out evenly and arrowed to artistic cones of form. Walking in woods was also perfect. There was stealth, mystery, and a vast quietude. The trees conspired with him in shadow, shapening and deflection. They hid the majestic forest people. Sumptuous, colorful carpets flowered and hushed the florist's floor. Each variation counted for something. He loved to count and to categorize. These were private things. Other private speculations had homes among the trees. Prayer was chiefest of these, but followed by imaginings, rememberings, projection, rehearsing, reinventing, redeciding an outcome already accomplished, letting music play inside of him, and perhaps of most value, pushing out judgments and bitterness. If he came upon water, this was best of all earthly heavens, for here his experience revealed he bloomed noble thoughts and dwelt in mercy and in loveliness. The waters dipped his soul in baptism. Realms of contemplation and peace reflected their energies to him. Think on these things, they said, whatever is noble, whatever is pure, humble and good. And so he did, refreshing himself to come from a searing desert, as come. Departing his interior retinue, he shambled toward the sandpipers at play in the surf. And gazing past the cove and well beyond the point, far out to sea, he sensed an approach. The man strode firmly through the waves as one would thrush through tall grasses in spring. God, walking upon the water toward him. He was laughing to himself, enjoying himself, and smiling. And actually he was singing. The Lord was singing, singing, singing. He was absolutely delighting in himself and perfectly delightful to behold. As one would perhaps secretly watch a child, but here perfectly majestic in his innocence. He will joy over thee with singing, as the prophet had foretold. The waters about him frolicked, and the air dizzled and danced. And what does God sing? Please do not ask to detail what cannot be. Only imagine, imagine. He was music. The music was his being, and he simply is, as he always was and ever will be. The Ancient of Days draws joy and understanding from every corner of eternity, all knowledge and wisdom, purity, righteousness, and overwhelming love, trumpeted in his lovely voice. He sang for his chosen, and he joyed with singing to the one who ran forward to greet him. Lord, in your sanctuary I sit among the halt and the lame. So you may, dear child, for they are poor in spirit, and much blessed in my kingdom. Yet know that I find in you no defect. As far as the east is from the west, so far have I cast away your sins, and have them not in remembrance. Then the Lord sang and laughed so mightily, and he too with him, exalting his holy name, and feeling at the same time so undone, and so completely as never before, whole. So passed the night. It was begun by simple inquiry to his temple, and now his beauty was beheld, forever and for always. One thing have I desired of the Lord, that will I seek after, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, to behold the beauty of the Lord, and to inquire in his temple.